Hey guys, welcome to Write Daily. It's Friday, second week. We're going to do a little 60-second word sprint on oneword.com. Did I leave this window open? I did. This from the last time. I never closed this. Anyway, I hope that doesn't mess me up. We're going to go to oneword.com. If you don't know what we're doing today, I have a tutorial in the description below. I'm going to link that for you about what we use oneword.com to do. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we use the site to generate a word for us at the top of our next screen. We're going to hit the go button. It shows us a word at the top of the next screen, and then there's a text box and a timer. The timer is for 60 seconds, and we write whatever comes to mind about that word. It can be poems, it can be prose, it can be mathematical equations, because I saw that the other day, and that was awesome. So I'm going to do the usual. I'm going to click this go to the next page, write the word that's on the next screen, put on some music, and then we'll join back up and then review my word choice, the things, my style in there. And then we're going to go to the next page after we submit it and read some of the other ones. Let's do it. So tempted to just keep going even after the chime and do another sentence because I'm kind of into this, and it's another one where I was trying to build this context for this thing and I'm not yet finished with what I want to do. So I'm gonna mute myself again. I'm gonna finish this and then we're gonna do the thing. Okay. So it took me a little longer than I thought to kind of fill in the gaps on what I was trying to fill in, and I didn't end up liking it very much, I can say right now. But we'll get there at the end after I read it to you. Vines. They crept up around the walls and the trees. They surrounded us. And though we didn't think anything of them usually, they were sinister. As we crept forward, inching ever closer to the door and the treasure ahead, something crept up the knight's boot. Though none of the others saw it, the thief's eye was quick. It was her mouth that was too slow. The vine slipped a thorny hold over the knight's armored knee. They ripped him away from the group and off he went. The garden was overgrown, and he sank into the bushes with surprising ease. Wow. The first part I like. I got to do my normal thing, third person, descriptive, and just wrote kind of a more playful prose than is usually in something in a fantasy setting. But as I got to, I don't have any problems with this part, though I feel I should have read my em dash, like the double hyphen, which has been in a lot of works over like the last 10 to 15 years, a new form of punctuation even. It's like using a semicolon to attach another bit of sentence, but it's like what a hyphen does for dialogue, often in a very kind of non-professional sense, in a young sense, in a like a fanfiction.net, fiction press, archive our own, stuff like that. Any place where fan fiction and, people have these these gatherings. Wattpad is another one, which was keeping me from thinking of anything else, apparently. Whenever you have these collections of young authors, they all seem to write not in the same ways always, but dialogue is kind of peppered with these hyphened sentences to emphasize and accentuate like an interruption by another character. So in a lot of these cases, it's almost mimetic in that you see an author doing it and someone who wants to write that's reading first, because that's usually what happens. They will read other stories and then get the urge to write their own, especially in like fan fiction and stuff. You see this, it almost like hops bodies, like a parasite almost, in that in one story you'll see something with dialogue like, well, don't tell me what to do. And as they get cut off, there's a hyphen at the end of the comma. The next person usually just goes into another speech. So I'm trying to describe it as there's one line of dialogue instead of a period or anything, usually a hyphen, then a quotation mark, a new line for a new line of dialogue for the other character who's interrupting them, and then that usually bursts in instead of, finishing the sentence with like he said or she said. There's no said, there's just boom, other person goes. Don't tell me what to do, I'll do what I want. It's usually when someone's angry. And a lot of people, because emotions are usually running high in fan fiction from that age, it's like all about the drama. You're writing fan fiction because you want to see the drama between these characters you love. Usually someone's in an argument, someone's in a misunderstanding, there's a fight going on, those kinds of things. And to get back from the tangent I was on, an EM dash in prose is kind of like the same thing. So when I read this line, I should have sped up at the end. Though none of the others saw it, the thief's eye was quick. It was her mouth that was too slow. But I kind of dropped the ball and just read it really slow. But that's the thing, in my head, it's different than reading aloud and trying to put everything that I would necessarily gracefully do in my head that I wouldn't have to think about as words, and pronouncing words apparently sometimes, and mostly today. I don't have to get my mouth used to that. Well, I have to get my mouth used to that because my mind's already used to reading things as I was kind of writing it. It's just my mouth that isn't trained to quickly do that as I see it. So I'm going to click go. That's my information at the bottom. Nick, that's my email. If you want to reach me on my email, you can also see that. And then my Twitter handle, because my YouTube page doesn't have an actual like named account. It's just like a scribble scrabble after it. Bigger channels at some point get their own name channel that you can just go to. But for the time being, okay, so I already see one that I like. I like this here. The Skeleton King slashed at the vines, gritting his teeth at the growth he had to walk through. Meanwhile, Ramadan was swinging overhead, enjoying the trees. Monkey started throwing feces. The Skeleton King shouted at Ramadan, who was in the trees laughing. That took a turn that I didn't think it was going to take. I was like, hey, we go with the Skeleton King. He's going through the bushes. Let's go. And then there's somebody swinging in the trees, and Monkey started throwing crap at him. I don't know what to expect from that, but that was pretty great. Vines, yo, from Mackenzie. A person does not grow from the ground like a vine. Human has legs to walk around. I thought it would be a little more deep at the end there, but you do what you gotta do. I can only think of the short videos that are now called vines. I wonder why they are called so. I'm surprised that these are the vines that I thought of because I don't even have the app. I don't watch vines. I don't do them. And this one starts with vines, but then it starts going into German, and I can't read German. So, unfortunately for us, that's no. She felt the cool leaves of the ivy brush against her arm as she reached out in the darkness for him. His warm hands found hers and pulled her in closely, his breath warm on her neck. Are you okay? Yeah, yeah. Are you? She couldn't make out his face in the darkness, but she could feel his lips brush against her cheek. Wait, what is this? What are you doing? Bridget Grace. Oh, I'm so happy to see that name at the end because I was like, oh, this is beautifully written. Um, so I really like this. I think this is like a love scene, a romantic love making scene, like in a garden of some sort. She felt the cool leaves with the ivy brush her arm as she reached out in the darkness. They're okay, maybe not a love making scene, but it's getting there. Maybe something happened. There's two characters out in the dark, but they're maybe leaning against the wall. There's ivy on it. And then some hot makeout is about to start happening. Oh, this feels like it's evocative because you have it's gonna be funny to start talking about this one. Because you have his warm hands found hers and pulled her in closely, his breath warm on her neck. And that's things maybe if you weren't observing as much in your life, because I think writing is observing and then applying to fiction. If you see something and you know people often do certain things when they're doing certain actions, such as pulling someone in close and in proximity with another person, how that feels. Like strength is usually like strength and sinew is usually what men are described as, and like walls and solid, and then women are described as soft. But if you're in proximity with someone and you feel soft skin or strong arms or broad chest, or hair against a hand or breath on a neck, um, those are all things. Those are all things that you can include in prose to um, just make it more relatable and interlock with another human experience and make it feel real to them. Because if you're evocative and there's warm hands and warm breath, you think, oh, I remember that somewhere in your lizard brain back there. And yeah, are you? With no tag. So it just leads into that next reading the next sentence as almost as if we could kind of ignore that a little bit. And then when you're in a hurry in a scene like this, because action scenes and love scenes, romance, when people are doing it, those kinds of scenes get us going like line after line after line. And a lot of short sentences like this, yeah, are you? With no tag contributed to it, just kind of leads us into this longer line. At least when I'm reading. When I'm reading a book, I'll stop and go slow on a kind of bunch of paragraphs or a big bunch of lines. But as soon as dialogue starts, my eyes start skipping to like, are you okay? Yeah, are you? And then because I've rolled off of are you okay into yeah, are you? When my brain hits a longer sentence like this, I know to like kind of just slow down and take this one in as fast as the other one was. She couldn't make out his face in the darkness, but she could feel his lips brush against her cheek. And then, because of the intimacy of the situation, I kind of read it as a breathy, wait, what is this? And not just like, wait, what is this? What are you doing? Because, hey, things are getting steamy, and people kind of tend to hesitate when they're getting pretty fun. Okay. I went back up again. These are all the entries on the page. This is 11 entries. I went back up again to the first one that's in German and tried to read it again. Oh, I was trying to go, I think, oh, Belinda Roddy. Going in. The vines grow and curl tendrils like sleeping snakes laden with precious fruit. Within a few hours, the men with brown faces and flat straw hats will walk out with their buckets and baskets, then disappear into the cool basement with their treasure in gleaming round purples and greens. The winemakers all stand at their barrels, waiting to crush the sweet flesh beneath their calloused toes. Vines led into wines. I like that. This has some very hard and very like microphone hating kind of sounds. Buh and puh and fuh, struh, but they're all really like really great consonants that make this second sentence really pop. I don't know about in my head, but reading that and trying to emphasize all of the within a few hours, the men with brown faces and flat straw hats will walk out with their buckets and baskets, then disappear into the cool basement with their treasure gleaming in round purples and greens. All the buh and even the gl for gleaming, and treasure. I know I did it for basement. The brown faces, flat hats, because that straw in there is straw. So you can get flat straw hats. You always kind of go lower if you're me. And then you get buckets and baskets. And this alliteration right here in between will walk out with their. Ugh. I stumbled on it twice. Both times. Even the time I was trying to read it slower. Still stumbled. But it's a decently thick sentence. And I always appreciate some Belinda Roddy. I think besides mine, those were all the things that we had on the pages. There were only 11 entries. I read most of them, except for the German one. Here's mine one more time. They crept around the walls and trees. They surrounded us, and then we didn't think anything of them usually. They were sinister. As we crept forward, inching ever closer to the door and the treasure ahead, something crept up the night's boot. Though none of the others saw it, the thief's eye was quick, it was her mouth that was too slow. The vine slipped a thorny hold over the knight's armored knee. They ripped him away from the group, and off he went. The garden was overgrown, and he sank into the bushes with surprising ease. The second read, I liked it a bit more. I feel like I'm more of in a bit of a zone thinking about that now. As I read it quicker and kind of put it together with the first one, and not really separating it so much as I did when I first wrote it. I was just reading it as a whole separate different entry because of my line break. I like it. I like this part as an action sequence. I would chop it up a bit more because you have those short sentences. You're gonna get a really fast, really quick action sequence if you're saying the vine slipped a hold over the night. It pulled him away. Well, I would say it pulled him away from the group. The garden was overgrown. As he hit it, you can probably put a little more action and emphasis in there to really exaggerate the scene so somebody can imagine it more, can get a more vivid, clear image in their head. The garden was overgrown and I don't know. I felt like I needed to make a hand noise. He sank into the bushes with surprising ease. So I think of like, kind of like an over the hedge type garden. Just a huge bunch of hedges and just bushes and plants and weeds in like an abandoned lot you're driving next to the road. That kind of huge, like all those put together. The knight just hits this with his armor. There's gonna be a clank, a clang, a crash. That rustling sound the leaves make as the bushes are getting messed with, and the cracking twigs, and because everything is dry and just gross. And then he sank into the bushes with surprising ease. To say that you could just simply pull something so easily through, like, I don't know, vines. Vines, trees, bushes, overgrown sawgrass, all that weird stuff. And you can pull someone through that easily. But that means this thing is strong. Trying to use that imagery to say Vine Monster has got some good game, and you better bring your A game team. Even though the knight's down for the count, he could probably take the most hits. So what? That's gonna be like a thief, the cleric, wizard battle, maybe ranger if they got one. Hard fight. I'd burn the vines. Anyway, I'm Nick. This was a 60-second writing challenge that I use oneword.com for. I encourage you to, if you've done this today, I have a box down there. You can put in a comment down below. I would also like if you would like or dislike this video depending on how you felt about it. And subscribe, I should say, if you want more.